Hey everyone, I'm Sean.
I'm Leo.
And I'm JD.
And welcome to Review Month.
What we're going to be doing for Review Month in December is all of the Arnolds are going to be reviewing games that they love.
The games that we hate.
And the games that we're passionate about.
So join us every single day
At 4 PM
GMT time.
to see what games we loved in 2014.
Rated M for mature.
I don't know much about you folks, but y'all keep going on like this, and that girl ain't gonna make it. You gotta consider her a living person, that's it. You're either living or you're not. You ain't little, you ain't a girl, you ain't a boy, you ain't strong or smart, you're alive.
Walking Dead Season 2, developed by Telltale Games, is an adventure-style game which puts you in the control of a character and gives you decisions which can influence and change the story that you are in. It's a style of games which Telltale Games are very, very good at doing, and they've made other games using this style, such as The Wolf Among Us, Tales from Borderlands, which is coming out soon, and they've recently announced, or they've recently showed off a bit of the Game of Thrones game they're working on. So when it comes to this style of game, they're kind of the best in the industry for it. In 2012, they released the first season of The Walking Dead, which was a huge success, won many Game of the Year awards, and was absolutely fantastic. If you haven't played the first season of The Walking Dead, I highly recommend that you do so and stop listening to this review now. This review will be spoiler free. I will not be giving any major details from the from season 2 of The Walking Dead. However, I do highly recommend that when you are playing a game like this, you go into it with an open mind and you try to make you use your own personal judgment to decide how good it was, because it's different for every single person. How the game plays for me will be different for you, and vice versa. So, the gameplay in this game, as I said, is based on decision making, and it changes to reflect your choices. You can also investigate environments and engage in actions through the use of quick time prompts. It works very well. It worked very well in Season 1, and it works very well here in Season 2. There are some new actions or quick time prompts which you can do in this game, but it's largely quite the same. Overall, right now, before I go into the story, I'm going to say I do recommend this game. If that's what you're looking for by listening to this review, I do highly recommend that you should buy it and try it out. It's definitely unique, and it's really an interesting way that can show off how varied storytelling can be through the video game medium. So onto the story. I felt the story was disappointing overall. The game is released in the form of episodes, and each episode comes about roughly every 3 months or so. But I waited to the end and just played it all at once, because I like to just go at my own pace rather than having to have huge gaps between the episodes. I recorded this for our channel for Halloween, but I didn't in the end upload it because I didn't feel it was very captivating or very interesting, and that is because it is missing some really strong key elements that are kind of fundamental to writing a story like this. Before even go into my opinion on that, I should just make it aware that the people who wrote season 1 of this game didn't return for this game either. It was two completely new writers, and it kind of really shows because, well, let me go into those reasons right now. First of all, the biggest problem with Season 2 is that it lacks a dilemma or a problem that runs through all the episodes. In Season 1, you took the role of Lee, and Lee's dilemma was that he had this little girl to look after, who is reliant upon him to look after her, and she wants to see her parents, and it's about how you choose to influence her and raise her as kind of your own foster child, and how you kind of help her grow and nurture her. In this game, you don't really have that kind of overarching story. There is very little direction for Clementine and to say where she's gonna go. I never really by the time I finished the season, I never really got to a point where I was wondering what's going to happen next for Clementine. Is this problem going to get solved? It's very strange that you miss this kind of thing out. It's almost as if though each episode was focused on individually rather than the whole overarching goal was focused together. And it doesn't really work for a game like The Walking Dead because it is that kind of continuous narrative which carries on throughout all the episodes. If I compare it to, let me think of a show that everyone knows and loves, The Simpsons. The Simpsons is designed in a way where you can watch an episode here and you don't have to watch tomorrow's episode. You can watch it whenever you want to because the story finishes by the time the end of the episode comes around. But The Walking Dead is like many other TV shows or games where there is supposed to be a story right from the beginning to the end. There is supposed to be a problem which you follow your main character through, but it's just not here. I was often wondering to myself, what is Clementine's goal in this season? Where is she going and what does she want and desire? What is her purpose? What is happening here? It's just lacking that real sense of direction. The writers really failed to explore this further, and it really hurts her character development. She, except for a small time jump, which was at the beginning of the first episode, Clementine is the same in the first episode as she is when she gets to the last episode. She doesn't really change as a person, and she doesn't really develop any further than being who she is. She's still a likable character, but it's just really strange. She's almost like she should have been a side character in this story. There is a theme of trust throughout the entire story of The Walking Dead Season 2. It is very much about who does Clementine choose to rely upon. Will she choose to rely on person A? Will she choose to align herself with person B? Or will she go with person C? You get the idea. However, there is no real reward or consequence for doing so. By choosing who you trust doesn't change who she is as a person. Let me elaborate with an example. If it was so that imagine yourself, the person listening to this, imagine if you chose to associate yourself with a good person or a bad person. You would expect that by association you change as a person. Maybe you have high morals if you go with the good person, but if you go with the bad person, you're kind of willing to do whatever it takes to get to make progress in your life. That doesn't happen here in this game. Whoever you choose to align yourself with doesn't really make a difference. The adults, you are a child in this game, and the adults around you kind of decided already who they trust and who they don't trust, and you can't really change their opinions. It's really just your opinion that can be changed, and it makes no impact whatsoever. So that's my biggest criticism for this game in terms of the story. One of the things that I think would have benefited this story is by having different settings. This game, besides episode 3, the game is mostly just you with your group in the woods a building of some sorts. Sometimes that building might be run down, sometimes that building might still be standing, whatever. It's all the same throughout the whole thing, except for episode 3. In season 1, it was very different to that. In episode 1, you were at a motel. Sorry, you weren't at a motel. You were at a drugstore, trying to survive and find a way out. Then in episode 2, you were in a very different scenario. I won't spoil it for those who haven't played it yet, but the scenario was completely different. And then in episode 3, the scenario was the setting was completely different. Episodes 4 and 5, they were kind of the finale of the season, and so they were the same setting, but it was still interesting because it wasn't somewhere you had been before. Now, not every game needs to change its setting dramatically, but the characters who you were with weren't so interesting that it wouldn't have benefited from being in different settings and scenario. So yeah, the last complaint I had about this is that the game has multiple endings, unlike season 1. In season 1, you there is one ending, and it's how you get there is what's really the main important thing. In this game, you have multiple endings, and I haven't seen them all. I've only seen 2, but from what I've seen, it seems like all of the endings are equally valid. Each one of them could be the true, real ending. However, the problem with that is, because they are so different, it's really difficult to imagine how the story could continue, because Clementine ends up in a very, very different scenario with each of these different endings. I don't really know how Telltale Games could do a season 3 of The Walking Dead using Clementine as a character or a main character, because she ends up in so many different places. Similarly, I feel like by having I think it's 5 valid different endings, it almost kind of gives you a feeling that there is no consequences to your actions throughout the whole season. It's whatever you choose by the ending, you've kind of done the right thing, and by not having that kind of fail state, or not kind of having that big issue or consequence to deal with, like, makes you think, oh wow, I did the wrong thing. It's weird. It just really doesn't feel weird, and it just doesn't feel like it really should have been decided for a game based on moral decisions. Last but not least, I mean, unless they have a time skip, and the next time you see Clementine is, say, half a decade in the future, and she's in a completely different scenario from these endings, that could work, I guess. But as it is now, I just don't really see how they could carry it on. Or Telltale Games comes out and says explicitly which the true ending was and which was the bad endings. So, despite all of this, despite my criticisms, I did enjoy playing the game enough to recommend it to other people. I do think if you haven't played any Telltale games, try season 1 first. It's definitely the better one of the two, and try season 2 as well. But don't know if I'm going to be looking forward to season 3 of The Walking Dead. Yeah. So, thank you very much for listening to my review of The Walking Dead Season 2. Hopefully you check out some of the others on our channel for a review month. And as we like to say, okay, thanks, bye.